What if I told you I could give you a simple shift in the way that you think about memorizing your speeches that will completely transform your delivery and make you feel really authentic? Lots of leaders rely on word for word scripts that they either read or try to memorize, and then they get all panicked and stuck. And frankly, there is not enough time to always be memorizing every single talk. So stick around because I'm going to give you some techniques and principles that will help you to memorize speeches and sound authentic. I get asked about scripts a lot. Should I write a script? Shouldn't I write a script? Should I have notes? Shouldn't I have notes? When I write a script, I don't like it because I feel like I'm going to get the words wrong. When I write a script or read off a script, I sound robotic. When I try to memorize a script, it makes me really nervous. If I don't have a script, then I don't remember what I'm saying. All are true, but here is the fundamental shift. When it comes to doing a speech, a talk, a presentation, whatever platform you're on, the thing that matters the most is your message. No one minds if you don't get your words quite right, but if your message is not clear in your head, it will not be clear in your audience's head. The reality is there are talks you need to memorize. There is nothing that replaces the ability to stand on stage with no notes, make sure you've landed that message that you want to land, and know that you've engaged with the audience. Reserve this for your big talks. And what I mean by a big talk is that yearly big keynote where you want to bring the team along with you, or that big moment where you know that the internet is going to be capturing you and you go out onto YouTube or anything like that. That's for like TED Talks or conference stages. It's really worth memorizing the talks that you really want to be remembered for, because you'll be stood there without notes and engaging with the audience. But first and foremost, repetition works. Saying your talk over and over and over again is going to help you to memorize it. The next thing that happens as you are memorizing the talk word for word is your brain starts to log it into sections. And what I find is then once those sections start to form, if I memorize the first and the last line, then I can fill the bit in between. So it's about chunking it up into sections. And those sections can become almost a list in your mind. So in a way, as you move towards the talk and you're more rehearsed, you're actually remembering the list of things. There's a fear about forgetting when you're on stage. And actually, I've done that too. And when you forget when you're on stage, it feels like the earth opens up underneath you and that time, it goes on forever. But the reality is that there is nothing wrong with a bit of a pause, and your brain will find it, especially if you've been memorizing as you have been. Some people talk about going through a speech backwards and learning it word by word backwards, and then you can actually then repeat it out forwards. One of the best techniques that I use in the process is writing the speech out. So in my head, as I'm regurgitating the speech, I can see the words in front of me, so I have a visual representation. And then, of course, images, stories, things like that. Those are the ways that people really like have the memory palace, if you like. So they go into one room and they know that they're going to be talking about the pitch opener, and then they go into the next room and they know they're going to be talking about other things. I've never done that myself. I find it all too confusing, but it works for some people. Fundamentally to it all, repetition is key. And if you can be saying it out loud when you're on a walk, when you're in the shower, when you're going to load the dishwasher, then you get the muscle memory working. And that is how I memorize a big speech. Once that big speech is memorized, I also then work out how to add the emotion back in, because the biggest thing that happens is you get to the stage and you just read it out of your head. So welcome everyone. How are you today? You almost have to inject it back in. I do think it's worth having a speech once a year that you do go through the process of memorizing. It's that signature talk, because the meta thing then happens once you've memorized those words and you've got a really nice speech that you've put the time and energy into. You start to remember it throughout the year, and you'll be drawing on parts of that speech as you go. Now for the talks you need to know. The talks you need to know your way around are those day-to-day talks. And here's the thing, as a leader, you have to be able to memorize for those day-to-day talks to make sense. Number one, memorize the vision of your business. Memorize the way that you are going to create the light that the people move towards. Your vision, we are aiming to be this business in 5 years' time, is the thing that should fulfill all of your communication. So that's the key thing, the vision of your business. Memorize that and use it as a core message as much as you can. Number two, as a business owner, Memorize the answer to the question, what do you do? And make it super effective. Now, there are tons of formats on this. I help X so that Y can do Z is a really great one to start with. Daniel Priestley does a great one through his KPI accelerator, which is name, same, fame, aim, game. All really valuable formats. Find your format and go with it. Learn it, prepare it, and make sure it sounds real to the person that you're speaking to. Have it in there. You don't necessarily even have to say it word for word in the moment. It's just having it there so you remember what you're pulling on. And then the third thing to remember on a day-to-day basis is key stories and examples that you have. So what you do with this is every week create a moment in time where you just log a few stories from the week, grab a couple of examples, even if they're just bullet points, and start hearing yourself say it. Of course, if you're saying things on a day-to-day basis, that is repetition in itself. And so that level of memorization is great because what you can do is you can try your stories out in front of people, try your jokes, try the humor. If it doesn't work in one group, does it work in another? You know, I have a series of bits that are just in my head that I use all of the time. I think you'll find that most speakers who, like when you watch the politicians walk around, we have some in Manchester, and they come out and they do their speeches. They have these pieces that they say over and over again because they have been committed to memory, because they are saying them over and over again. And because they get to say them over and over again, they get to see what works and what doesn't with an audience. And then finally, there are talks that you need to read. There is no way that you can always memorize or know the exact talk you're there for the dinner that evening. Or you might find yourself in a position where all of a sudden you're speaking tomorrow on the radio or on television. And there are some things that you do have to read. And for that, there are some extra techniques around how to write a script that sounds authentic and then how to deliver it in a way that is authentic. And I'm going to reserve that for you for next week. So in summary, memorizing is a skill that you can develop. But I would say the core principle here is that you memorize the core message and talk around it more than you memorize the actual speech. Apart from the big speeches, so once a year, or the keynote speech or the TED talk, you can memorize that and then insert the emotion back in. And then the rest of the time, memorize the vision, memorize the answer, what do you do? The answer to what do you do? And memorize any kind of key stories or examples that you have, and you can commit them to memory. It doesn't matter if you can't trot it out word for word. What matters is that that key message is there. I'll be back next week, same time, same place, and I'll be telling you how you can write and deliver a script that is authentically readable. Until then, make sure you're signed up to the mailing list and you'll find out about this video first. If you go to thepresentercoach.co.uk, you'll find the video there. And remember, great communication will change your culture, your work, your day, your life. And when I say great communication, that includes the way you talk to yourself.